I have the honor of telling you a story that was given to me by my mom. I have to tell you, I don't own this story. She doesn't own this story. And if she were alive today and you were to ask her where she got this story, she would probably laugh at you and say, I have no idea. However, it's a story that has really meant the world to me and has guided me in everything that I've done for many, many years. As I indicated, my mom passed away. She passed away in 2011. But before her passing, she and I used to have a conversation every single Sunday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And we would have our conversation, have a good time, laugh, discuss things, find out what the local gossip was, all that kind of good stuff. And then we would end the conversation, we would end the conversation with a question. She would always ask this question before we hung up. And she would say, baby, I say, yes, ma'am. She said, are you flowing with the river? And I say, yes, ma'am, I'm flowing with the river. Now, to really be honest with you, I had no idea what she was talking about. The river, what is that? All I knew is that I had been on the phone with her for an hour and a half, 90 long minutes. It was now 9 o'clock at night. I had to get ready for work in the morning. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'm flowing with the river. And so one day we were having a discussion because I was in the middle of making a very, very big decision on something that I really didn't want to do. But needless to say, after that conversation was over, I was pretty upset with her. Mainly because she was telling the truth. It was a truth that I didn't want to hear. And you all know what it's like hearing something that you don't want to hear. That's absolute truth. You don't want to deal with it. So I was pretty angry because she was forcing me to deal with it, even though I didn't want to. And so she says to me, okay, baby, I know you're mad at me, but so I'm gonna let you go. But before I let you go, I have one question. Are you flowing with the river? And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm flowing with the river. The difference this time is that she said something that she had never said to me before. She said, baby, I'm so proud that you're flowing with the river. And you should be flowing with the river. Because remember, you got to flow with the river because the river knows exactly where it's going. And she said, when you were born, the good Lord took you in the palm of his hands and he looked at the river and the river looked back and responded to him, yes, Lord. And he gently placed you on that river and the river's been taking you exactly where you're supposed to go. So baby, don't fight the river. Don't tell the river what to do. The river's always known what it's supposed to do. Now keep in mind, baby, the river never only promised you one thing. It never promised you how fast or how slow it was gonna go. It never promised you that you wouldn't hit some things every once in a while, some rocks or some trash in the trail. The only thing the river promised you is that it would get you where you're supposed to go. So when I heard this, I just like, come on now. And she said, baby, you gotta keep in mind that the plan is good and the plan is perfect. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Well, in my indignant self, I said, well, if that's the case, well, it doesn't matter what I do because what's gonna happen is gonna happen. She in turn responded, baby, you see, you got it wrong. Because you have to keep in mind that the power is not in what happens to you. The power is in what you decide to do with what happens to you. See, it's just like the river. She says, you know, when you can look at the river and depending on how it's flowing, you can see some trash up there. You can see some froth on the surface. It's splashing against the banks or it's splashing against the rocks. It's just what's happening in the water, right? But the deal is that's what you see. The power is not in what's happening up here. The power truly lies underneath where the undercurrent is taking place because it's the undercurrent that controls everything that's happening up here on the surface. It's not about what you see, it's about what you do not see. The power is not in the seen, the power is in the unseen. And she would always remind me that I live in two worlds, that we all live in two worlds. We live in a world that we see, and we live in a world that we do not see. Power is in the unseen. And so that's kind of the story that my mom gave me. It's the thing that has guided me in everything that I've done ever since I made that one big decision in my life. And I've noticed that for me, it's worked incredibly well. It's not about, again, what happens to you, it's what you decide to do with what happens to you. She would always say this. She would say, baby, you are meant to be great. And all of us are meant to be great. She said, you're not the only one that's meant to be great. We're all meant to be great. Because the Creator, who is omnipotent and omniscient and omnipresent, only creates great things. Average is something that's not even in his vocabulary. So you were created to be a great thing, to do great things, just like everybody else. And she said, when you were born, you were given two things that nobody can take away from you. You were given a name, and you were given an assignment that only you can accomplish in the greater good. Your greatness will be determined on how courageous you are to take on the assignment that has been given to you. And so, therefore, the river is taking you exactly where you're supposed to go to carry out the assignment that you're supposed to embark on. Your assignment is not your job. Your assignment is not your friends. Your assignment is not your experiences. All these things are tools that have been given to you to carry out your assignment. Your job, your family, your friends, your education, your ups and downs, your challenges, your wins and your losses. All these things are tools that you put in your toolbox to carry on, to carry with you, to carry out your assignment. So I will tell you, my friends, that truly it is about the river. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that is a be-all and end-all. All I know is that this is a concept that works for me, and I would suggest that you take a look at it and see if this concept might work for you. Keep in mind, again, that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Your job is to figure out what it's supposed to mean. Are you supposed to learn something from this experience? Are you supposed to do something with this experience? How do you make this world a better place as a result of this experience? And you will find out that in the end of the day, that if you just flow with the river will take you exactly where you're supposed to go, because the river knows exactly where it's going.